girls, we were talking about what? What was our discussion about earlier? What kind of?
Polymers.
Polymers. And what is a polymer?
A long string of molecules.
Of what kind of molecules? Like molecules. A long string of like molecules. And the example we already gave was polystyrene, polystyrene, styrofoam. Now, these bags, we use these all the time. Sealable Ziploc bags, right? These are a polymer. Polypropylene.
These are all names you can name your children if you end up having a bunch of them. Polypropylene, polymer,
Polyester?
polyester. That's a good one.
So, what do we use these bags for?
To like store goods so it doesn't go bad.
Put food in, what else?
Here for the party.
It keeps oxygen out.
In a nutshell, it keeps the things that are inside in and keeps the things that are outside out. Okay? So if I put, what am I putting in here?
Water.
We're in science. What do we need?
H2O.
No, in 5th grade, dihydro. I don't know. Do you remember that? That's a good one. Dihydroxide? Dihydrogen oxide.
Does the water come out?
No.
What if I hold it completely upside down? Does the water come out?
Let's hope not.
It is intended to keep what's inside in and what's outside out. What if I poke a hole in this bag?
And water will come out.
Oh. Yeah.
I have a feeling I
What
know where this is
if
headed.
I hold it on this bag and I poke a hole in it? Should we try?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Stupid.
Are we ready? Okay, so why didn't the H2O come out?
Because you put like a solid in the place of where the air would have come in or where the water would have came out.
That's a good guess. That's an excellent guess. It's not about the solid I put in though.
Well, when you open the hole, you were able to reseal it so that nothing will come out.
Sort of, but it's not about what I put in. It's not about the pencil.
You poked a hole, but it was the skeleton size, so all the holes were blocked and there was no space.
It's not about blocking the hole. And remember, what did we say at the beginning of class? We learn from
Our mistakes.
all of the wrong answers help us learn. So sometimes we learn more from having the wrong statement than the right one. It's about the polypropylene. Polypropylene is a type of polymer that if you push something in it and try to separate the molecules, they don't want to be separated. They cuddle up together. They hold on tighter. Instead of opening it up and letting all the water all over you, they close in. They pull around. I could do the same thing with a balloon and a needle. I'll do it next week. I'll bring them in next week.
A balloon and a needle?
Uh-huh.
Eagle.
Needle. Not an eagle, a needle. Needle.
Wait, like a blown up one?
Yeah, of course. How would I test it if I didn't blow it up?
Yes. I think I've seen it in water. You skewered. We could do the same thing with water.
I have a needle that's about this long.
I'm trying to.
So it has to go all the way
No, it
through.
doesn't.
Oh.
I don't know. It's just like, oh. So, in case you thought this was magic or it was a trick, let me show you that it actually is just a Ziploc bag.
Oh boy.
Okay? The water will come right out. You better take out both sides. I've got a whole set of these over here now. At the end of each day, I like to review the things we've done. Tell me something you learned today that you didn't know when you came in.
That it won't pop and put a pencil in a Ziploc bag to fill with water.
But why?
because of the poly something.
The polymer, you can just use polymer.
Grabs together when it's punctured because it doesn't want to let
They wanna
go.
separate, they don't wanna let go of each other.
That's right.
What else? Somebody else?
That a polymer is a string of like molecules.
Like molecules, excellent. I encourage you to do things with your parents at home. I encourage you to ask them the rule of the numbers that we did first. See how your parents do. I also encourage you to try this with them. But let me warn you ahead of time. I will only promise you that the Ziploc brand, and I don't own stock, I just know this works, Ziploc freezer bags. Don't try it with sandwich bags.
Why do you think? Why do you think you shouldn't try it? And why is she saying Ziploc? Because she doesn't own stock in it. So why Ziploc?
Because she's tested Ziploc and she knows it works, but with
Yes.
any other brand, she doesn't know if it works.
Yeah,
I
and,
don't
and here's the difference too between like when you think about generic and you think about a brand name like Ziploc. Often what happens with the generic, what's the purpose of generic? Is to make things
Cheaper.
less expensive, right? So what they'll do is they may not use as much of the
Polypropylene or whatever.
or whatever they use to keep it really, really strong. So just keep that in mind. So if you have Ziploc, use Ziploc. The other thing you could do is maybe go outside, test it outside first, because I'm not so sure that your parents would be happy if you like flipped it over, poked the hole in.
And remember,
And then she's gonna get the emails.
then I will get you. You're gonna push them all the way through. You're not gonna
And
go,
it needs to be sharp.
No, that won't work.
Okay?
Okay, what else have you learned today? Not just about this that we've talked about today.
Not all acids are harmful.
Not all acids are harmful to use. Did you guys see our samples up there? I don't know if you got a chance to see those.
What was the acid that you used in that?
It's a derivative of fingernail polish. It's one of the acids that's in a fingernail polish. Sometimes I don't tell you.
Yeah. We don't want you creating things and.
Sometimes things go home that
Right.
aren't supervised. We'll talk about them in more detail. Next week, they are going to get to do that experiment.
So, one thing you should know, when Dr. Musser hires teachers, she hires them for a very specific purpose. Our biggest interest when we hired Mrs. Shepherd is Dr. Musser has known her for about 20 years. 20 years. The thing that Mrs. Shepherd loves more than anything is to experiment. Because she believes that when you see, hear, not taste, touch, not necessarily smell, that a lot more learning takes place. But with that learning comes responsibility, and this is what I told her. At Candeo, she has some pretty awesome students here. But because you are working with chemicals, because you are working with experimental things, behavior has to be at an all-time high. So you will experiment as long as the behaviors stay in check while you're experimenting. She has a million experiments. I just started to see the things she's doing. So I think you're really gonna enjoy the year, but again, with choice, which is experimentation, comes responsibility.
And we talked about that. If behavior gets out of control, they'll see demos.